Shalom, call Halim La, Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushua Ba'Hashem, Cha, Kodash, Babban, this is Apostle Ezra, Millstone, Shalom, to Hope Lit. It's about your call from GMS Cleveland Camp, Little Wilbur, Ephron, listen. And I just want to go into, because I just want to go to understanding on why the Lord created women to be beautiful, alright? Because in this world, which is ruled by the serpent, you saw even the devil, the so-called white boy, he has basically weaponized the woman's beauty, alright? And that's all going to the Queen of Heaven worship and the way Esau basically let these women get by on their looks. And basically, like I said, I just want to bring some of this simple understanding and clarity on why the Lord created women beautiful for brothers to understand, and as well as, the very, 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 very few women who believe. All right, because it's not for contrary to belief. The Lord didn't give women's beauty for their own. The Lord didn't give women, make women beautiful and have courageous bodies, etc., to entice men just to be worshipped. Like, that's basically the spirit that's in this world right now. Is that, like, I got this image on the screen because let me just clarify again, because it's like, man, which does goes without saying. Okay, it's like, man, obviously we love the Israelite woman, but she doesn't love us, man. All right, that goes into, I'm going to read the scripture about the order of things, about people say about, the woman is the glory of the man, but the glory of the woman is her hair, which I'm going to grab that precept, because I'm going to say that breakdown for later, but I was emphasizing the point, because we don't hate our women, which they know that's how they have their power. So they say what? Give not type women power over you, paraphrasing, man. All right. Because she can't take it from you. The women know the men love them. Even if they try to gaslight you and act like they don't love them, the Israelite woman knows the Israelite man loves her. That's how she gets power over us, man. Alright, she uses that against us. She leverages our love and our love and lust for her to against us to have power over us, man. And basically it's how the Lord said that in the story right now. Israelite woman since the beginning has been our enemy, that in due time we're going to kill a majority of them off. Okay, and then He's going to bring them back and change how they think and change their spirits to finally get them in order and worshiping and serving the Israelite man. So again, I got this picture because, I wasn't going to be back in order, but I was going to go into this real quick on why the Lord created women to be beautiful. Because again, it's not for men to bow down and worship Him. It's not for them to have all the so-called quote-unquote leverage in the quote-unquote dating market. All right, no, because again, even that's all wicked, but it's not for how this world does it. It's not for her to weaponize her beauty and use it as currency to basically be a whore. That's basically what these women do. They even call it something now. They even got the term of a face card. All right, so a woman's beautiful, she has a nice body. They basically she uses it as currency. She looks hot. You'll see it with so-called Instagram models and even average women, but the Instagram models so-called, they'll hop from dude to dude, whether it be fucking Jacob money or heathen, some weirdo Arab. Okay, want to shit on them for money. They basically use their beauty as a currency, as a credit card. Even average women, they'll go out, like you even say it, they'll go out for a night on the town with $7 in their pocket. They go out and the club's food. They get men to buy their drinks and buy everything for them. And these women get wine and dine and live a whole different lifestyle they wouldn't have access to. Otherwise, they basically go until they get by on their beauty. And again, this is not how things are supposed to be. The woman's beauty is supposed to be. For first and foremost, let's look at the scriptures, man. We're gonna break this down. 1 Corinthians 11 and 1. It says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I am of Mashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you." So this is the divine order, man. Keep the order. But I will have you, and this is being broken in the world of the heathen. See, this is coming back in the kingdom of the Israelite man. All right, it says, "But I will have you know that the head of every man is Yahushua Mashiach." So the head of the Israelite man is Yahushua, and the head of the woman is the man. The head of the Israelite woman is the Israelite man, and the head of Yahushua is Yahweh. All right, so let's skip down. Verse 7: "For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of Yahweh." See, so the Israelite man is the glory of the Lord. Okay, the Israelite man is the Lord's woman. Okay, the Lord looks at us. I was gonna say what Jeremiah 6:2. "I've likened the daughter of Zion to a calmly delicate woman." The Lord considers his relationship dynamic with the Israelite man like a man and woman. Like the woman makes the man look good. Okay, having a beautiful woman on your arm. All right, loving and caring for your woman. That's how the Lord considers the Israelite man. But He actually created a woman for the Israelite man. The Lord didn't create the woman for Himself. All right, these women got shit confused, man. They think that we're all equal and it's quality feminist. Boy, really think they're over us, man. They think that the Israelite woman thinks she's above the Israelite man. She thinks we're supposed to bow down and worship her for her beauty, man. All right, but it's not. That's not how the Lord had it so. All right, for a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of Yahweh, but the woman is the glory of the man. So the woman is the glory of the man. All right, it says, "For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man." You see, so the woman, the whole reason you exist is for the man. The reason why the Lord gave you beauty, if you have one, all right, a lot of these women are out of shape now, but the reason why the Lord gave you a curvaceous body that Jake like, all right, it's to please the Israelite man. That's not. He didn't give it to you for yourself. He didn't give it to you for you to so-called my body, my choice, so-called so you can walk around and be proud and know that trying to the Israelite man think you better than us. I'm like, bro, no, man. That's not the reason why He didn't give it to you so you could be a whore and dress provocatively, showing every curve of your body, all right, to the whole world and use it as currency. You're supposed to be covered up. You're only supposed to reveal yourself as an Israelite man. That's why, again, like, hey, quote another Kazak, He got that saying, for your eyes only. So in the kingdom, that's how it's going to be. That woman's going to be covered up. Like you see pictures like this, there's going to be more. All right, a woman's going to be covered up, man. They're not going to be, yes, out here. Let's see, I think I got another one in here. So like, let me just find it. Yeah, I found it real quick. But I want me to cover up like this. Like, okay, even more. There's a whole head wrap, whole thing, bro. All women not gonna be walking around. See, that's beautiful again. Like I said, that's what I said, bro. You gotta look past this place, man. Cause this place, I mean, I get this breakdown on the line. I'm like, bro, literally, the reason why it's a stumbling block and Jacob's foot sometimes, like, say, again, the Israelite woman, she is the most Israelite man's favorite possession. She's our favorite thing the Lord created for us, man. All right, I'm gonna get the scriptures to prove it. I'm the same thing to the point. A lot of times, brothers get caught up, and sometimes you find yourself getting frustrated because, like, you'll see these different wicked rapper niggas and they'll be with these beautiful Israelite women, etc. At the same time, it's like, they're not getting the full of it. Like a lot of these women say they don't give two shits about you. They're here to capitalize off your lifestyle and take your money. All right, and not only that, these women are touched before. These women aren't virgins. They're really hopping from ride to ride. They from rich dude to rich dude to rich dude to rich dude. Like I said, they gonna deal with some heathen and get fucking really become a little fucking toilet. Okay, really eat shit for some wicked ass Arabs, weirdo Arab in fucking Dubai. So like we're not missing out on shit. The Lord got better things for us, man. The Lord gonna give us, like I said, the Israelite woman, but He gonna clean them up first, bro. The Lord gotta. I tell you, I'm gonna get this real quick. Isaiah 4. He says, when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment, by the spirit of burning. So the Lord gonna wash away the filth. These women are filthy, man. Not just physically by dealing with all these different men. Okay, but the main problem is the mind shit. Because again, you can find, even though we're gonna talk about how it's like one be out of shape and all the shit, it's not even that. Like, bro, you can find good looking. It's like women. It's the main problem is the mindset, the attitude, the horrendous mindset, bro. Like their mindset, like I said, of trying to use their beauty as currency and being basically being whores. That's what whores do. Whores sell femininity. They sell their body. They sell body. That's what they do. As we what a stripper is, or all that was that us all whoredom, man. All that sex work shit, OnlyFans, that's all classified as the same shit. Being a hoe, a harlot, man. We all know Scripture said what? It said there should not be a harlot, a daughter of Zion, man. All right, so we're gonna wash this filth away. But even back to the main point, the Lord is on Lord to create your beauty to use as a weapon. Like these women do that too. Okay, they get upset at something that happens in the household, so now they're trying to withhold box. Okay. They're trying to withhold sex from you. That's why you got that saying, J-Bo, I'm in the doghouse. This is all wicked, man. All taking away the sovereignty of men. We're only dealing with this shit. It's part of the curses, man. Like Esau, Edom, the devil, the serpent, the same motherfucker from the beginning. He's allowing them to do this bullshit. See, the ancient world didn't have the right to do that. You couldn't, as long as they were on their fucking rag, they didn't have the right to deny sex from their husband. That's what in the scriptures, man. All right? It says you supposed to, her body belongs to you, if you're paraphrasing. Okay, and vice versa, you're supposed to render due benevolence, which you look it up. It's talking about the duty of marriage to sex, man. All right? You ain't supposed to be doing that. All right, but that's what women do. They literally hold sex and their bodies and their beauty over Jake like a fucking carrot to try to get Jake to do what they want to do. Like I said, and a lot of Jake fall for it. Why? Because again, that's it's like, man, we love women, especially our women. So that's Jake's biggest fucking thing that you have to keep in check in Babylon the Great, man. That's one of the main things we're learning. All right. Like I said, our women not gonna be dressing all like sluts. These bitches really come out with nothing anymore, man. These bitches really throw on a pair of panties, a small ass like fucking G-string, some heels, and no bra, no shirt, and a completely see-through dress. Literally 100% see-through with their nipples out. Call that shit an outfit, bro. Bitches really walking outside in some lingerie. This shit is ridiculous, man. The Lord, like his red, Lord gonna wash away this filth, man. And going back to the point, the Lord created the woman's beauty for the Israelite man. The reason why the Lord created this is for the Israelite man, bro. It's simple. 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 8. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. You were created for us, man. It says, for this cause, Slacky, I'm going to this point, glory of the woman. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to get down. This is, now we just read, right? The glory of the man is the woman, right? But 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 15. If a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given to her for a covering. You see? Yeah. So again, like the Lord's and deep. I remember the brother. I think it was a brother from I forgot where he's at. So I ain't gonna butcher it. But he gave a heavy breakdown. And he was like, no, it's not even just you talking about her hair. Of course, it's the hair. The main thing is just everything in general. Her beauty, her body. And this is why these women are so obsessed with themselves, man. These bitches, they literally take, man. You go through these bitches camera roll. And y'all brothers know dealt with these women. But all these women, man, literally. They got fucking 20,000 pictures of themselves in their fucking camera roll, man. These bitches got pictures, just selfies and pictures of themselves hanging up in their house. They got they literally order a custom phone case with them on it. Like, these bitches are vain as hell, man. But that's all part of the glory of the woman herself. And see, that's the issue you run into. Because again, we love the Israelite woman, but she don't love us. All right, that's the biggest thing. So in the kingdom, like I said, the Lord's gonna change that around, man. These women, the same way they're so eager to go worship Esau and worship the image of the beast and the way they act, the Lord gonna do a complete 180. You're not even gonna be able to recognize these women, bro. They're gonna worship the ground they walk on. Like again, what the Kazakh is saying, they're gonna worship our dirty draws, man. All right, these bitches gonna be all about the Israelite man. All right, man. All right, so let's get this. This is Sirach 36 and verse 22. It says, "The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better." You see, so we don't love anything the Israelite man, especially Hebrews are weirdos. They're like, man, like I said, Ishmael shitting on women and weirdo shit. We're not into that, man. All right, but the beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better. That's why the Lord created the Israelite woman. That's why He created your beauty, man. He created your beauty in your body to please the Israelite man. All right, to show to your husband in private and to please him. That's the reason why you weren't here to do your own thing. You want to say you weren't here to swipe your body and your beauty as fucking currency and live this lavish lifestyle. Which our women are gonna live a lavish lifestyle under us, through us in the kingdom. There's gonna be an order. Like I said, they're gonna get it through their husbands having one husband. Like I said, these women hop from man to man and monkey branching. They with this rich guy, and now they get in a circle around other rich men. Now they monkey branching this guy. He's just out of order, man. All right. It says that there be kindness, meekness, and comfort in her tongue, then is not her husband like other men. You see, and we don't get that right now. We get attitude, we get pushback, we get again rebellion from our women, man. So in the kingdom we're gonna have all that. Our women gonna be humble, they're gonna be meek, and they're gonna be ashamed of how they treat us on this side. And that's another thing through the Spirit. I remember I put this together a while ago. That's part of the way we're gonna humble these women as well, because we all read about the scriptures. Ezekiel 36, Daniel 12, it goes into the scriptures how we're gonna put the wicked Israelites to remembrance and how wicked they were, and that's gonna be with these women. All right. The Mashaba had a vision of Daniel 12 and 2, that shame and everlasting contempt. He said it too. A lot of these women, they was ashamed of how they was treating brothers, man. Not just men of the Lord, but just Israelite men in general. And they really crying tears, man. All right, when the Lord, because again, right now, that's far fetched. Israelite woman, she don't give a damn how she treats the Israelite man. But when the Lord put them in their right mind and change how they think, then they're gonna be ashamed, man. Okay. And that's what's gonna happen, and that's how the Lord gonna keep these women in check, because they gonna have that feeling of guilt and that feeling of making up. That's what it is, man. The Israelite woman, she got a lot of making up to do. She got a lot of ass to kiss, man. All right, she got a lot of bowing down to do, man, because she needs to get back on our good graces, man. She needs to get back on the good graces. How about she gonna shop? And she does that by getting back on the good graces of Israelite man, because she went completely off, man. All right, it says verse 24, he that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, and help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. Right, you see. All right, but we don't have possession of our women, but we will in the kingdom. It says a help like unto himself and a pillar of rest. Right now these women give you the direct opposite. They give you fucking headache, man. Heartache, extreme heartache, man. It says where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled, and he that have no wife will wander up and down mourning. That's one of the biggest afflictions that the Lord gave to Israelite man. In fact, our woman is not with us. I did that lesson a little while ago entitled "There's Still Not Found to Help Me for Adam," because basically going into it, remember when the Lord said in the beginning, He said it's not good for the man to be alone. But right now, really, the Israelite man is still alone, because our women, they're with the heathen. They exalt the heathen. They're all about this world. They don't give two shits about us, or they have nothing but negative, evil things to say about us. Like I always say, the Israelite man, you can do 100, you can do 99 things for this bitch, and you do one thing that's off or fuck up or whatever, and it may not even be off. I mean, in her mind, she considers it off, and now it's just fuck you, you know. But I'm about to wrap it up soon, man. I don't make this long. I think that's pretty much the point. Like I said, man, the Israelite woman, the woman's beauty wasn't created for her to use as a weapon or as a currency. It was created for her husband, man. All right, and all that order is coming back, man. The Lord's about to put everything back in order, bro. This world is just completely upside down. This queen of heaven vibration, like scriptures talk about. All right, there's this world where I can edge you back that, man. Where's that edge?
That's this devil for you. Hold on a second. Now it doesn't want to fucking play. You see how Esau is. Doesn't want the fucking video. Alright, try to get back to 16 minutes. I know I was almost done.
World, they don't give two shits about us, or they have nothing but negative, evil things to say about us. Like I always say, it's like, man, you can do 100, you can do 99 things good for this bitch, and you do one thing that's off or fuck up or whatever, and it may not even be off. I mean, in her mind, she considers it off, and now it's just fuck you, you know. But I'm gonna wrap it up soon, man. I don't make this long. I think that's pretty much the point. Like I said, man, the Israelite woman, the woman's beauty wasn't created for her to use as a weapon or as a currency. It was created for her husband, man. All right, and all that order is coming back, man. The Lord's about to put everything back in order, bro. This world is just completely upside down. This queen of heaven vibration, like scriptures talk about. All right, there's this world where I can edge you back that, man. Where's that at? Jeremiah 32, I believe. I haven't wait out a minute. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up, make the time faster. That was Jeremiah 31. Jeremiah 31, I ain't bringing out a minute. Jeremiah 31:22. How long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. Right? And you see that, man. All right, the woman that will go compassing is going around the authority of, man. All right, that's what these women doing, man. That's feminism right there, bro. All of this shit. Another one. Amos 7:17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city. And that literally happened. That literally happened in past captivities. When we get taken over, these heathen men will put their hands on our women, of course, ravish, rape our women, but also literally force our women to be prostitutes, man. So you may have a situation where you survive onslaught, you get put in captivity, and your wife is fucking forced to work some heathen corner, man. All right, these heathens is going onto her, making the money. Esau did that here in captivity, man. All right, hardcore bondage. He will literally take. I mean, you can read about it. Certain accounts I read about. Esau will literally take fucking you on a plantation, get a wife. He'll take your wife into the city and sell her off for heathen, multiple other Edomites against going fucking ravish as well and make money off of her, man. And then of course it hurt. Then now this time they actually want to be harlots. They actually really are being harlots in the city. They get flying out to Dubai to be harlots for these nasty ass Israelites, man. So this curse came upon the Israelites, man. So now that we receive the bad, the balance, the Lord going to see the good. Our women going to be the most untouched woman ever. The Lord going to give them new bodies, and whatever Israelite man she's assigned to, that Israelite man's gonna be the only one to see her beauty, to see her naked body, etc. And he's gonna be the only one to be able to touch her and have sex with her for eternity, man. So we're gonna get our woman gonna go from being the ultimate, yes, free for all. Anybody can get their hands on our women. Anybody can do any vile acts, okay, to follow our women. But it's gonna go from that to being our woman gonna be the most untouched, okay, the most safeguarded woman, so to speak, man. The most what's the word? Exclusive. There's another word I'm thinking of, but I can't come to mind right now. But basically, the most untouched women ever, man. All right, so we gotta have faith in that, all right? That's a prophecy. Like I said, it's gonna completely change around, man. The Lord gonna give us our women back, man. All right, which our favorite toy, of the Lord's creation. All right, there's like women's our favorite thing the Lord created. All right, so little one is edifying. Like I said, that's the point. Let me get this. I mean, I was thinking about getting Micah 7 but again, hey, I'm not pretty much making a point, man. A little bit of that fine, call William Lai, how about Shemel, Shah, about Shem, Josh, Devon, Sapas, Great Millstone, Shalom, the Hope of Leg, man. Kwame Yasharal, Shalom.
Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, double honors, the and apostles, the Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim out there in four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracket the Yahweh, Bracket the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, Bracket Tum. So, the Salakia, that video froze while looking at it, but you know how this devil rolls, man, you know? You're trying to do a lesson and then he just fucking interrupts your feed. But anyhow, yeah, you know, and I was one of the few that actually got one that actually has been very faithful to me. And when I received this truth, she never bucked up against it. I spoke about that at camp last week. You know, she never bucked up against this truth when I had received it. She kind of had a feeling all along. Well, she knew because she'd been to enough of them 501c3 churches and they were only teaching certain parts of the Bible and it was always about getting the money at the plate. Well, she didn't even buck up against him when she found out who Esau was. You know, totally into this, you know. I was one of the lucky ones. Nonetheless, though, things are going to be in order, but before that, you're going to see a lot of disorder as Esau's system is coming down, especially with this thing that they call free speech, the internet, right? Washington fears losing information war. RT's global outreach makes it an enemy in the eyes of the West, historian Alexander Moxas said. Latest U.S. sanctions against RT is a panic reaction resulting from the West's slipping grip on the narrative in the global news arena, according to Alexander, the head of the Searle Institute in Vienna. The Austrian historian and publicist spoke to RT in an interview Friday, just hours after the U.S. announced that it had sanctioned the news organization. James Rubin, the head State Department propaganda intelligence, accused RT earlier in the day of hindering support for Ukraine worldwide. Fuck Ukraine, man. Ukraine is nothing but a bunch of Nazi bastards. They're just, you know, degenerates from the previous generations, you know. And you got a lot of people in between there just getting killed because, of course, the West wants to use the Ukraine as a proxy to build on Russia's borders. So we'll take a look at this interview, right?
Let's get some reaction now to all of this and speak to the head of the Suvorov Institute in Vienna, Alexander Markovits. Alexander, it's good to have you join me now. So now we have sanctions against the Russian media over what they call covert intelligence and malign influence. Why is Washington doing this all over again?
Well, I think, first of all, Washington is basically saying that Russia is doing what Washington is actually doing to all the peoples and continents around the world, basically spreading propaganda and misinformation. And what Russia, on the other hand, is doing, or to put it better, Russia today, is it actually makes it possible that even the disinformed masses of Europe, of Africa, of Latin America, can listen to a second opinion, can listen to an opinion which is closer to the truth than the Western propaganda. Because, as we all know, if you would only listen to European and American news about the war in Ukraine, for example, we would still be thinking that Ukraine is winning it straight, and that sooner or later Russia will crush under the might of Western sanctions. So therefore, all these sanctions are just a panic reaction by the West, because he's actually fearing of losing the game. He's losing the game of information warfare, and therefore he tries to censor every kind of opposition still available. And of course, Russia today, with its big outreach in the world, is of course an enemy in the eyes of the Western propaganda.
Now, take a look at the allegations that Blinken presented against RT, including malign cybersecurity and providing support for military operations. Now, from his words, he seems like he sees the weaponization of media. What's your take here?
Well, I think when it's about the weaponization of media, we know that the Americans themselves are masters in this field, like we know from the old days of so-called Radio Free Europe, but also about the Atlantic Brücke in Germany and in Europe, which is basically about the United States controlling European media and actually banning every kind of opposition. So therefore, I think, as Vladimir Putin has put it, what the West is actually, it's an empire of lies, and therefore the West is really and deeply concerned about
what
the
do you
truth.
think that's going to do to us prophets out there?
And therefore they want to suppress oppositional media like Russia Today, who are actually trying to counter this empire of lies and provides the truth.
All right, now another official later claimed that U.S. media serves democracy, and that's the big difference compared to RT. Now, what do you make of those words?
Well, if I look at what American media did in the last 30 years, they reported about the so-called weapons of mass destruction available in Iraq, which led to the death of more than 1 million people in Iraq. They lied about Afghanistan, they lied about Libya. They actually led to the death of millions and millions of people, and they are actually calling all these lies the truth. This makes you actually think about the sincerity and moral derangement of all those people in the West, claiming that they own the truth, but the only thing they own actually is being the master of disinformation.
Now, it was also claimed that RT has managed to prevent countries in the global south from standing 100% behind Ukraine. Does the network really have that kind of influence?
Well, I would be really impressed if RT is actually able to control the whole of the global south and make it think what Moscow thinks in the eyes of the West. I think it's more the case that RT has maybe the function being a multiplicator and multiply messages which are not in favor of the West, also in the global south. And I think a lot of people, especially in Africa and in Latin America, really appreciate this variety and difference in news, because otherwise they would be solely dependent on the United States. And as we could see on the examples of the war in Iraq, for example, or in Afghanistan, or when it comes to the Arab Spring, of course the United States used its power to actually manipulate millions and millions of people. And I think it's quite liberating in every sense of the word for people in Africa, in Asia and in Latin America, that they now have a different source of information, which is actually not leading them into crazy wars, revolution, regime changes, and other brutal adventures. And quite on the contrary, is in favor for an era of cooperation and prosperity among the peoples. So I think the West is especially afraid because RT is providing here a different image, an image of multipolarity, in contrast to this uniformization of thoughts, of manners, and also of the information space, which is actually done by Western media.
You're very spot on there. We have to leave it here now. Alexander Markovic, head of the Suvorov Institute in Vienna. Thank you so much for your insight.
So, like everything else, though, of course they want you to. They said it themselves that they wish they had never created the internet. I believe Rockefeller said that. Our New World Order elites plotting to use AI to deprogram so-called conspiracy theorists. Might the New World Order use biased, pre-manipulated artificial intelligence programs to try to deprogram those with unpopular opinions by persuading them that their logic does not compute? Yeah, and that's what they're doing, is making a study. Among those theories tested were more traditional conspiracies, such as those involving the assassination of Kennedy or the possibility of alien landings that were known to the United States government. But others included more immediately politicized claims, such as the lawlessness of COVID lockdowns or the validity of the 2020 presidential election, which were both shit shows. You know, we know that coronavirus was a hoax, you know, and that it was used as a tactic to put fears into people to make them obey. Both of which are a major source of public concern. Well, of course, because nobody's believing their bullshit anymore. I think that everybody sees through the lies. I mean, look at how many videos came down because you didn't go with the narrative on YouTube, so they took your video down for misinformation. So if they could control all the information, they most certainly would. Well, they plan to do that with this digital ID that's coming soon. Some states have already brought out digital driver's licenses, but this digital ID can and will be used against you. Where have we heard that one before? Oh yeah, when you get arrested. Right.
Australians are happy to tap and go. Now the government wants them to tap and show.
Under a gold standard digital ID being developed.
It's a secure means by which to exchange with a third party who you are.
The text system will use personal data already stored on MyGov and send a digital receipt of all information shared and with whom.
The reason 10 million Australians have had a MyGov ID is because 10 million Australians were coerced into getting one, and Centrelink won't or can't talk to you without one.
Trust Exchange will deliver 3 benefits: choice, consent and trust.
In Western Australia recently, there was a payment to be made, but you couldn't access the payment without a digital ID.
The text system is in the final stages of development with the aim of being rolled out next year. Using it, though, will be optional.
In 2022, Jane Hume, the then Minister,
using a phone will be optional. Well, where's it going to be?
Small, medium super funds. No, I got a
That's right, in
from
your
the government
hand.
recently that said, sign up or else. You have to have a digital identity if you want to be a director of your own super fund.
Government services need to continue to be provided in a range of ways so that people who don't want a digital ID don't have to have one.
Under the law, directors who fail to apply for a director ID within the stipulated timeframe can face criminal or civil penalties of 5,000 penalty units, which currently stands at $1.11 million. So don't talk to me about
voluntary. If you're an individual, you will not have to have one of these digital ID.
Internationally, this legislation is nearly in every country.
Digital identity is increasingly the cornerstone of how we engage in society.
Oh, surprise. No, it's just an Australian, only an Australian proposition. No, it's not an Australian proposition. It is worldwide.
You will still be able to carry a digital version of driver's licenses or ID.
Digital ID.
If they give you a digital identity, the digital identity can be taken away.
If the government's involved in every transaction, then they have the potential to know that I've gone to this hotel at this time.
And I know of a personal instance where a friend of mine was deemed to be not a suitable customer by a bank. They were the judge and jury, and they said, we and other banks will no longer deal with you.
Banks have already started to freeze the accounts of people involved in the protest.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen.
We saw the government's willingness to override our human rights during COVID, closing of bank accounts, police storming in to arrest a pregnant woman who's posted her views about lockdown on Facebook, censoring of social media posts by people sharing their heartbreaking stories of vaccine injury. When I say no to the next vaccination mandate, which I will, like what I did in the COVID mandate, how could my digital identity be used to encourage, punish or penalise me, prevent me from paying my shopping, prevent me from travelling by cancelling my driver's licence?
But you can't buy or sell, save me that has.
You will not have to have one of these digital ID.
Government's position
on COVID-19 vaccinations is that it is voluntary.
It's not mandatory, it's not mandatory. It is.
The vaccine mandate has kicked in.
And I've been against mandatory everything through the whole process of my 25 years.
Exactly. They say one thing and mean another, right? Well, something else is being broken down here on Redacted as I looked at this video here. Of course, now most of us know that 9/11, that there's more to the story than the official one, right? You know, that the official one doesn't make a lot of sense, you know, especially when you get right down to it, because the stories just don't add up. The government lied to you about an Osama bin Laden and about, you know, there was some terrorist group, you know, some guy in a cave's hiding somewhere. Because believe it or not, the original interview with Alex Jones, which he does go into the digital ID, you know, that they want to put a chip. They want everybody chipped. You know, it's a famous interview by Aaron Russo. Went into it that they'd be searching for a guy in a cave, but they'd never be able to find him, but the war would just go on forever. They could just have whatever they want. But eventually they want to get down to a digital ID where they could track and trace you, your every movement, you know, and we know it's coming. But like everything else though, 9/11 was one of the main false flags, you know, as this gets into, which actually that day I think just passed by. So, you know, it's interesting what's been unveiled. Well, they never wanted this truth to get out, but you see, that's just it though, is that eventually a famine of the word will come. But Esau is going to be exposed before that happens. And we've been exposing him for some time.
Well, we are kicking off our week-long look at the truth behind the 9/11 terror attacks. Everything, of course, we've been told about that day was an orchestrated lie. Every day this week, we're going to have an in-depth interview here on the show on a different part of the 9/11 cover-up. And today we're kicking it off with Ted Walter. He's the Executive Director of International Center for 9/11 Justice, and he just led a big symposium over the weekend with his presentation called The 9/11 Hijacking Myth Exposed. And Ted joins me now. Ted, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Clayton. Always good to see you.
And great to see you, and great for all of the work that you've been able to do to put together this big symposium with all of these different speakers to shed the truth and the light on the truth about all of this. So we're starting with the hijacking. But before we get to the hijacking specifically, because you said in your presentation that that is where everything flows. Everything flows from the hijacking part of the story, right? So, and then all of the other pieces come from that. We'll get to that in a second. But first, for someone who's totally believes the narrative of 9/11, who's never been exposed to all of the pieces of truth that you've exposed over the years, can you sort of just give us an umbrella understanding of what are some of the main big lies told on that day?
Absolutely. So I like to boil down the events of the day of 9/11 to basically 4 key events or 4 claims that are in the official story. The first is that these 4 planes were hijacked by 19 young Muslims. The second is that those hijackers somehow managed to fly the planes, navigate them, and fly them all the way to their targets, or at least in 3 out of the 4 cases. So you have the flying of the planes. The third is that the U.S. air defense system completely failed to stop these planes from reaching their targets, failed to intercept the planes after they were hijacked. And the fourth claim is then that 3 skyscrapers in Manhattan collapsed because 2 planes hit 2 of those skyscrapers. So those are like the 4 main events that we're talking about. And I would say over the last 20 years, a lot of focus has been put on, you know, why did the air defenses fail? You know, what was going on with FAA and what was going on with NORAD? And certainly a lot of focus has been put on the question of why did these buildings collapse? And you know, both in the mainstream and in the, you know, sort of the alternative community of people questioning this story, particularly the collapse of the buildings. And in my view, it's beyond any doubt established that the Twin Towers in Building 7, the 3rd building that came down in 9/11, were brought down by controlled demolition.
Yep, there it is.
Likely, explosives or thermite-based, nanothermite-based explosives that tore the structure apart and totally pulverized all the
Illuminati card,
and there's just no way that the top of each building could crush the 90 stories of structure below it, even if it started to fall just a little bit. And certainly the heat from the fires was not enough to weaken the steel. And the Building 7 just dropped straight into its footprint. So that's really well established, and even people that are not involved in questioning these issues have probably heard that idea floating around. The 2 events that I described first, the hijacking of the planes and the flying of the planes, and our argument, which is that there's no way that the alleged hijackers could have actually successfully hijacked the planes and then flown them to their targets, it's less talked about. It's just kind of assumed that just happened, right? So as an organization, the International Center for 9/11 Justice has decided to put a lot of focus on those first 3 steps of the story because we feel like the demolition of the buildings is already really well established. And so for this symposium, we were basically presenting research that we've done over the past year, and my focus was on how plausible is the story of these hijackings, and do we have any real evidence supporting them? Because when you start to dig into it, all the evidence for the hijacking story entirely come from the phone calls that were made or that were purportedly made from the 4 aircraft by several of the passengers and flight attendants. And so I can dive into that.
Yeah, let's get to the phone calls in a second. You say that everything starts with the hijacking piece of the story, and you're absolutely right. We've covered extensively here on the show about the buildings. I encourage our viewers to go and see those interviews about the buildings, the controlled demolition of that. That has been a huge part of the story. Most people have been focusing on that. But you're right. I think the hijacking piece of it is arguably more important because that is the theatrics that were used that day to get us all scared, right? That's changed air travel forever, and we have to take off our shoes. We go through massive screening processes now as a result of all of this, right? The total control and scanning of our faces using biometric data, all of these things stem from the idea that these planes were hijacked. So let's get there first. You believe that these planes were not hijacked. They were controlled. So talk about that, and then I want to play some of the audio clips. You can toss to them, play them, however you want, because and tell us what we're hearing.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, there's the plausibility question. Is it plausible that hijackers could really hijack all these planes? And when you look through history, there's only a handful of cases where hijackers have actually tried to remove pilots from the aircraft. And in all these cases, from the controls of the aircraft. And in all these cases, they're unsuccessful, and it's a really chaotic situation. You know, the fights ensue, passengers and flight attendants get involved. Sometimes the pilots do manage to contact air traffic control. And it's a messy, chaotic, scary situation that usually results in the hijackers not actually getting control of planes. And on top of that, we know that these hijackers, these alleged hijackers, the so-called muscle hijackers, were all quite small. They're all under the height of 5'7" or 5'8". They all weigh under 135 pounds or so. And then we have these pilots on the plane who are all 6 out of 8 of the pilots are military trained. They flew in the Air Force and the Marines, etc. And then you've got a lot of people on the plane who are also really strong or well trained. What happens in these types of situations is that the passengers tend to get involved in stopping the hijacking from happening. So none of that actually happened in these 4 alleged hijacking incidents. It was almost a seamless event. The situation on these planes was suddenly they were just hijacked. There was no indications externally that the plane was hijacked. The one plane where there was some purported indication of a hijacking was Flight 93, where at 9:28 a.m. In the morning, there were 2 radio transmissions that came from the cockpit that purported to convey the sounds of a struggle going on in the cockpit. And in both of those transmissions, the pilot said, "Mayday, mayday." And so I offered those for you to play for your audience.
Yeah, let's listen to them right now.
We'll just put them in back direct St. Louis, and they can put in whatever they want to sweep. That's American 1060.
Yeah, what are we hearing here, though?
Yeah, so first of all, it's very odd that in both of these transmissions, the pilot says, "Mayday, mayday," and doesn't give any more specific information like there's a hijacking or somebody's trying to pull me out of the cockpit or anything. It just says, "Mayday, mayday," right? And if you really listen closely to the second one, and maybe you want to play that one
sounds
again,
like the Baltimore Bridge collapsed, doesn't it?
You hear the exact same set of words and sounds in the same rhythm repeat twice. It just like, "Mayday."
Sounds like a loop.
It sounds like a loop. "Mayday, get out of here." Now, I don't think it's like verbatim the exact same sound waves, but it's basically a loop.
Let's listen to that one again. Yeah, let's listen to that one again.
That's American 1060.
Yeah, it does. And when you hear it for the first time, it does sound fabricated. But of course, our brains could be playing any sort of tricks on us. But so these recordings you maintain are fabricated, and then all of the sort of narrative flows from these recordings, right?
Right. So I wouldn't hang my hat right now and say 100% these are fabricated, although I strongly suspect it. But the even more important thing about these transmissions is that the official story has now committed itself to there being about a minute long or more violent struggle in or near the cockpit of the airplane. Like very loud, pilots screaming for their lives, trying to get the hijackers away, etc. And so everybody on Flight 93, which was a Boeing 757-200, it's a jet, but it's not a terribly large plane. And a lot of the people who ended up making phone calls were sitting in first class or sitting near the front of the cabin of coach class, would have heard or what was going on. Like there's just no way that would have just stayed contained in the cockpit, right? And so about a minute and a half later, you start getting phone calls supposedly coming from the flight where passengers are reporting what's going on. And lo and behold, and this is for all 4 planes, not just Flight 93, but Flight 93 is the most obvious because we have these radio transmissions. Nobody reports the actual cockpit entry, how the hijackers got into the cockpit. Nobody reports how the hijackers defeated the pilots physically. Nobody reports where the pilots are now, what happened to them. There's only 2 very vague references to what happened to the pilots across the 4 flights, all the calls. And we're talking about 28 phone calls made by about 19 passengers and flight attendants across the 4 flights, most of them on Flight 93, 12 of them on Flight 93. So that gives us the biggest window into this sort of false story. And as you go on, these phone calls are made over the next sort of 20 to 30 minutes, and none of them are consistent. And the biggest one that stands out is, the biggest few that stand out are passengers reporting the cockpit invasion happening at that time when they're on the phone. So they're like, so it would be like 15 minutes later, and you have a passenger, Jeremy Glick or Todd Beamer, reporting to the person that they're talking to, yeah, they're getting ready to hijack the plane right now. Okay, yeah, they're going into the cockpit right now, and they're taking the pilots out or whatever. So Todd Beamer, the famous passenger, because he's reported to have said, let's roll, when the passengers on Flight 93 supposedly tried to take back the plane, he's the one who said, like, oh, they're entering the cockpit now. And the person who reported that was very specific, that she was on the phone with him for 7 minutes before he reported that. So you've got this story that's coming from the calls that just doesn't add up with the idea that the flight was actually taken over at 9:28 and started to change its course. You've also got, I could go on and on, but you've got totally inconsistent reports, contradictory reports of the violence that's taking place on the planes. So one person describes a passenger being stabbed and killed, and he's sitting next to all these other people, none of whom talk about a passenger being stabbed and killed. They're talking about completely different things. So all of these calls, and I think people have rightly been skeptical of the calls for years, and a small handful of researchers have really delved into them. But we're really trying to bring this out into light now and say, none of these calls what they're actually reporting in these calls, put aside the technology question, how are the calls were made? What is reported in the calls makes no sense, does not add up whatsoever with the official story. You also have, to switch to Flight 11, you've got a totally crazy, unrealistic situation described on the plane, where supposedly there has been 2 stabbings of flight attendants and a person stabbed in the neck and who's bleeding out and basically dying, and there's been mace released on the plane. All the passengers in first class and business class have come back to coach because there's mace in the front of the plane, and yet supposedly, according to flight attendant Betty Ong, none of the passengers in coach know that there is a hijacking going on in the plane. They're supposedly under the impression that there's just a medical emergency. Well, if all of these passengers in first class and coach actually saw this violence happen and they saw the cockpit be invaded, they would start telling the people around them, right? So how is that? And one last piece of it to tell you is, then Betty Ong talks about her flight attendant colleagues trying to get into the cockpit. And there's the idea that you get is that there's nobody in first class or business class, no hijackers trying to stop them. So essentially, where are the pilots and where are the hijackers? Are they all just locked in the cockpit together? You've got 5 hijackers and 2 pilots in the cockpit together? It becomes cartoonish, right? So nothing adds up when you really start to delve into what is being reported in these phone calls. And I think the kicker for a lot of people is that the majority of the people who made these phone calls were reported by their loved ones or by the people that spoke to them from the ground to have been extremely calm when they were on the phone. Like they were not actually involved in an emergency situation.
Kind of like just Sandy Hooks, huh?
Some of the terms used, shockingly calm, extraordinarily calm, to the point where some of the people that received the calls didn't believe that the person was actually in a real hijacking, at least initially. So.
It's unbelievable, that part of the story. Then, of course, we have, which we're going to dive more deeply into here in just a short while, with a special report that we have on the remote controlling of the aircraft. So if you understand that sort of narrative that's being pushed out here, then you understand how the evidence seems to support that these aircraft were remotely controlled. Because as you point out, you're having a struggle, you're fighting with people, and you're also descending at 10,000 feet per second or per minute, and doing a controlled turn into a tower with very little flight experience at all. Like you're literally, these guys are like the worst pilots in the world. They have 0 to almost negative flight experience. They're so bad, and they're pulling off maneuvers that not even Maverick could pull off in Top Gun, right? So that part of the story just is laughable once you start diving into it, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I think both pieces of this, that they could have hijacked the planes, and then somehow even just figured out where to turn, like as soon as they get control of the plane, how are they like to turn the plane and to like get your bearings, and to do that in a situation where you've probably covered in blood, you've got 200 pounds covered in blood that you've just pulled out of the cockpit. Like it's just that aspect of it, the stress aspect of it is also very implausible. But yeah, they wouldn't have been able to get the planes all the way there. And then the final maneuvers to actually hit the targets, hitting the towers and hitting the Pentagon are just, it's fairy tale stuff that even inexperienced pilots, or really any pilots, could maneuver the planes in that way.
Well, I want to thank you, Ted, for everything that you've been doing, your organization, organizing this symposium, bringing all these incredible speakers together. And for our show, I really want to thank you because we're kicking off our week-long look at 9/11, multiple stories, but we thought we'd have you on first to kind of kick everything off here because this is going to be a big week, hopefully shattering a lot of lies, a lot of propaganda during this week-long event here on Redacted. So we thank you so much, Ted, for all of your work.
Thank you, Clayton. Thanks for all your work.
So, like everything else, though, of course, we here in This Truth, we already know this whole thing was a hoax, but we didn't know it then. I mean, maybe some of us did, you know, but I wasn't in This Truth back during that time. I believed it. You know, I of course, caught it. You know, of course, now with everything else, the evidence and all that is quite overwhelming that it was fake. So, like, by the time Sandy Hoax and, you know, the Baltimore train, you know, or was it Baltimore? No, the Baltimore barge, or when the bridge got blown up, right? You know, that they both called Mayday and all that. You know, it just, you could obviously see that a lot of these things are done by remote control. But they are false flags. Biden gives green light for NATO to start bombing Russia with high-powered missiles. So this is a game changer. Now, we already know that the U.S. has denied giving them the power, but now Biden has officially given them the authority.
I come to you with very, very grave information. It's official. The London Guardian and New York Times are reporting that what the UK said 4 days ago was true. Biden has quietly given authorization to use heavy missiles built and then launched and directed by Western forces deep into Russia, targeting their military targets. This is officially an act of war under international law. Putin has said it is, and has said he will probably use nuclear weapons in response. They can launch missiles today, tomorrow, and next week. I hope cooler minds prevail and this is reversed, but there needs to be a bigger debate about this, and people need to get past their normalcy bias and realize that this is a very serious issue, and almost all analysts agree it's a probability of escalation in nuclear war if this continues, because things just continue to ramp up. I'm about to break it down, a very special emergency briefing. Please watch and please share.
And he's not the only one talking about this. Like everything else, though, in fact, I think Dabu 7 is another one talking about this, right? You know, that the big game changer, World War III on the horizon, which is scriptural. Now, it's not going to happen just right now, but it is happening, and it is getting talked about. So let me just try to get down here, because Dabu 7 is the one that had it. I know that I played it, so... wait, no. Yeah, it's, okay, Redacted also talked about it. I wanted to get to Dabu 7, though. If I can get there. Might take me a few minutes. Well, maybe it is. There it is, right there, Dabu 7. Yeah, Redacted's also talking about it, but I'll play Dabu 7's video on it.
Running marathon and writing.
Nobody cares. Fuck them.
Between Russia and NATO, not just threats. This is Dabu 7. We have fears of World War III popping off yet again here and going to new levels as the threats are flying between Russia and NATO. And not just threats, but some big moves here, as it looks like there's been incursions into other countries' airspace. Latvia, Romania, claiming that Russia has came into their airspace. We also have leaders like Justin Trudeau and others out there saying that they fully support long-range strikes inside of Russia to back Ukraine, and that Vladimir Putin has one option and one option only, and that is to withdraw all of his troops back into Russia's known territory and to cease fighting. Russia contends that they are going to claim all the territory that they just gained. They're going to absorb it into Russia, that they're never going to get back Crimea at this point. And others from the West and NATO are saying that, yes, Crimea is going to be returned. So these areas, you know, the eastern flank of Ukraine and Crimea are at the top of the list. And I've always said, even in past videos, will Crimea, in this ancient territory, and Russia is pretty much stating that it's direct war with all of NATO if they are approving these long-range strikes, and that their response is basically going to be the nuclear sword, tactical, or whatever it may be, whatever they have planned.
Notice how he calls it a sword?
Russia's pretty much saying, as soon as you back this, and Canada just did this. They just did it. We haven't seen Biden come out and make a statement like this yet, but he very well could at any moment.
And he
what
did.
is anyone going to do until the bombs start to fly? Now, Russia also says that if this escalates with straight up war with the West, like full-blown war, not a proxy war, but full-blown war with NATO countries, that they will partner with China. They will combine potential with China to face the Western aggression, meaning that this is the front that you're going to see. It's not a secret, and we're right on the edge of this. Many could say that the West is already greenlighting this. And with them doing so, that means Russia could strike anywhere at any time. Anything could happen at this point. It could pop off big time. In the end, Vladimir Putin's statement is, there will be no winners. I believe he knows that once these nukes start to fly, if they do tactical nukes or whatever, there's going to be devastation, and that Moscow will be targeted by dozens and dozens and dozens of these bombs. So what cities would they target? Yet to be seen. European countries, the United States, I'd say it's all on the table. They said everybody that's on the other side in NATO becomes an enemy at this point, if this happens. So as close as you could get, so to speak, to World War III without it popping off, with these threats flying, and we've got things in motion. Join me for the live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So, like everything else, though, the prospects of a nuclear war, and even Trump said that there's prospects of a nuclear war. And you got this going on because the American dream is long over with. The rate of depression among Americans has reached a new high. 3 in 10 people in the U.S. have clinically diagnosed with depression at a point in their lives in 2023. According to the survey data, 3 in 10 people in the United States have been clinically diagnosed with depression at a point in their lives in 2023. Their averages hide figures even more extreme. Gallup data reveals how rates among women, young adults, as well as Negros, Latinos respondents have risen particularly fast. Well, because, 2/3, they don't want to heed the warnings from Yahweh Shai, so of course, they're getting targeted. So I guess Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey attacked Alex Jones on there, but we already know that this is all part of propaganda. It's a joke, anyways. But here's what's going on in the Valley of Yehoshaphat, We know that the Houthis have struck, as well as, of course, Lebanon has also struck the Israeli state. So how much more when Iran does make their response? So this all just took place yesterday. Yemeni defense minister warns enemies of unexpected surprises in the coming days. So this is just the beginning of things, just from Yemen alone. Yemen's defense minister warned the U.S. and Britain against and Israeli state against the repercussions of their strikes against various regions across the Arab country, vowing that the enemies will receive unexpected surprises in the coming days. Enemies have already suffered defeat at sea. What happened as a result of our maritime operations could be repeated in ground offenses as well. I respond to the Israeli strikes against the Red Sea, port city of Hudaydah on July 20 will be a nightmare for the enemies. It will seriously jeopardize their security, he said. The coming days hold surprises the enemy will not expect and could have never imagined, he warned. Yemeni forces will respond with any iron fist to any act of aggression to their homeland. They will neither forget nor forgive any such vicious acts. Enemies will regret the day they opt to wage an all-out war on Yemen, he pointed out. So, like everything else, though, eventually this is going to escalate into what we know as World War III, and it will be fought there, And you can see, though, that, okay, NATO and Russia, that's a part of it, but it's mostly going to be fought over here. But we know what's impending. These digital IDs, once it becomes mandatory, as it has in some places, but once they make it mandatory that it has to go into your skin, that's when World War III, not too long, will break out. Joel chapter 3, verse 9, it reads, "Claim this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords," because you heard what the swords are, nuclear weapons, because Dabu Sepper just mentioned them as nuclear weapons. "And your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say I am strong," meaning that they all will have nuclear weapons. "Assemble yourselves, and come all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither cause the mighty ones to come down. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about." And so that's where this war is going to be. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, is near in the valley of decision. So you already see the lineup for that. So hopefully this has all been edifying. We're getting closer. Shalom. Barakah the Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, Wa Abab Babal. Barakathum, Jehovah Elect. Shalom.